Hi, my name's Alyssa. I am the host of Stories and Spoilers, the podcast, and I am so excited to discuss a series that has honestly stolen my heart. I haven't edited books this much in a really long time because of how much I love this series. For Valentine's Day, my girlfriend got me the third book in this series. So, without further ado, I'll be presenting three books that I think you're absolutely going to love. You could read them by themselves or you could read them as a series, but I promise you're going to want all of them because they're that good. And that is the Greene Sisters series by Kristina Forest. You have the first book, The Neighbor Favor, the second book, The Partner Plot, and the third, newest one that came out this year, The Love Lyric. I'll be interviewing Kristina Forest, the author, this year in March, so that episode will be up very soon. One of my favorite things about this beautiful series is the way that you can see each one of these characters evolve. It follows one of the sisters, there's three of them. Each one of the books, you learn about their love story, you learn more about who they are as people, their little quirks, their flaws. It's very personal. Each girl in this book you really can relate to. You've got the youngest, the middle, and the oldest. So we're going to start off with the youngest sister in book one, which is Lily. She works in the publishing industry. She has dreams of kind of building her way up, being able to explore her creative side more. But right now, she's not being appreciated as much as she could be. She's a huge fan of this book by a not super well known author. He wrote one really amazing book, which is kind of like the black version of Lord of the Rings. She's a big fan. She ends up emailing him one day. He responds. They start talking. There's definitely chemistry there. She's interested. And then he ghosts her. Right? It's a mystery. What happened? She fast forwards a few months and she's living with her sister in this cute little apartment. And long story short, a cute guy ends up moving in and you get his point of view. And things may not be what they seem. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is a non-spoiler episode, so I will not be diving into all my favorite things about this book unless y'all want that, and then I'll do a separate episode. But for now, this is a non-spoiler, so you all can learn more about these books, get a little taste tester now. I'll jump into the book tropes in this, as well as one of my favorite quotes, and then we'll just go from there. But something I loved about this was that Lily was so sincere, and it was a slow burn, friends to lovers, a little bit of spice, like it was pretty cute. He definitely falls first. And what I loved as well is that it's set in New York. New York really does feel like a major character in this book. I felt like when I was reading this book, I could see myself going to the Strand. I could see myself kind of walking through the spaces they walk through. Perfect for a little summer or spring read. Also, something I really loved was the secret identity situation. The email element reminded me a lot of a rom-com called You've Got Mail, which was super cute. And I thought that their chemistry was just divine. One of my favorite quotes from this book was, I think the requirements of my ideal date would be equally as simple as yours to spend time with someone I like and who liked me. Kristina Forest, your writing is divine, magical, wonderful, and I just adored this book so much. As you can see, I annotated it so much. When I ran out of the little colorful notes, I just made like sticky notes and put hearts on them for all my favorite scenes, which I'll be doing with book three. I'm reading it for a second time, so that's very exciting. I listened to the audiobook first, and now I have a physical copy because of my beautiful girlfriend, so I'm very grateful. All right, the next book I actually read on a trip to Atlanta last year, and I'm so glad I did. This is The Partner Plot, which follows the middle sister, which I really liked. This is Violet. Book one was Lily, and book three is Iris. With Violet, we have a hardworking fashion girly. She had a high school sweetheart. Something happened, they broke up. And long story short, she bumps into him in Las Vegas. One thing leads to another. They get married. I know. How could this be? How could it be? But it's super cute because he never really got over her. So I love that. His name was Xavier. He started off as an athlete when they first met. He was the new boy in town. Also, all of these books kind of return back to their hometown a little bit, which is really cute. Lily stays in New York, but they return to their hometown, which I thought was cute. And then in book three, we see that Iris gets to show her love interest around her hometown a little bit as well. So that was really cute. Very cozy. There's cozy elements for sure. But in this one, you get flashbacks as well to when they were in high school and how their love kind of bloomed, and then how it got to this point in modern day and their dynamics now. Xavier to me was one of the most lovable male love interests I've ever read. You get to hear more about how he kind of grew, what he went through, his challenges, communication issues, but you also get to learn about how much he really cares about her and the tenderness from him. If you've seen Abbott Elementary, he's actually a teacher in this book later on in life. So he reminded me a lot of a certain character from Abbott Elementary. He cares a lot about his students. He also is a coach at the local school. And you also get to just see how one main character in this book. She's in fashion. Her life is moving very quickly. She has to kind of be on the run, on the move. She has a lot on her shoulders, and he helps her slow down and prioritize herself, eating and caring for herself while also supporting her dreams. You also get to see that in book one, she goes through something really challenging, but she comes out on top. And now she is with someone who she can trust and really who values her time, and how he's able to be vulnerable and comfortable with her, and how they kind of just fall back into who they were in high school versus now as adults. They kind of have to find a new dynamic that works for them. So this was super, super cute. One of the dynamics I liked in this book as well was that even though this was a second chance romance, I felt like as adults, their love was just as deep and profound. And there was a lot of elements about them that like almost like healed like childhood love. If you've ever been with someone and you were like, man, I wish it could have worked out, or like, what could it have been like if we met as adults? This book is exactly what you need. It feels like a hug. It's so, so sweet. And if I just opened up one of these pages, and like pulled out one of my favorite annotations from this book, I promise you it will be magic. Um, I also find it really cute how in this book at least, and I'm likely looking on the first page, he just says like, I'm proud of my wife. Like even though they got married in Las Vegas and he's like this was not planned, he's proud of her hard work. He's proud of all the passion and the love that she pours into fashion. She also has a best friend in this book who reminds me a lot of like a Meg the Stallion character. She dresses her and she's really big in the music industry. She's very bold and beautiful, and the way that she just accentuates her curves and her style and their friendship and their banter was also super cute. So I love the partner plot. This was amazing. Highly, highly recommend. And moving on to the third book in the series, the newest book in the series, The Love Lyric with Iris and Angel. Okay, so the reason you need to read this book, not just because the cover is gorgeous, but because Iris and Angel are adorable. Angel is definitely giving off like Giveon, Usher, like he's very suave, very cute, a little sexy. And then you get Iris, who's a single mom. She's also a young widow. She lost her husband, unfortunately, in the past. She's still grieving through that and navigating that. And Angel actually is connected to one of the characters from book two and book one. He pops up there too. But in book two, he is a celebrity, and book two, she does dress a celebrity. And they were kind of mutual friends. He ends up seeing Iris at a wedding. And he just had a huge crush on her. She's beautiful and amazing and hardworking and brilliant. They had a connection, a spark, if you will. 3 years pass by. He sees her again and he has blown up. He's a super famous celebrity now. She is working with a like skincare and beauty company, and he ends up being the celebrity that they'll be working with. And it's definitely like a workplace romance, a little forbidden, but also their dynamic and their chemistry is electric. Like the way that they get together and the way that they kind of bond over their shared love of music as well as their ability to work incredibly hard. What I love about Iris is that I feel like she's a really, really big heart. She is constantly going out of her way to help others, like her coworker, making sure that she's able to keep her job when they are layoffs, as well as the way that she is there for her daughter. And she's constantly trying to support her and be there for her and juggle both work and home and family. It's a lot. And I cared about her a lot. As the oldest, I definitely saw a lot of myself in Iris. Angel, you do get to learn more about his background, his relationship with his family. I think that there's a lot of depth to him I was excited to read about, and you definitely see that in this book. I highly recommend the audiobook. It is the both voices are different. Angel's voice is narrated by a man whose voice is so silky smooth and gorgeous, which makes sense because he's a singer in the book. So you needed someone who was just as enchanting. And in this, you get all the like worthy moments. He writes her a song. You get this, he falls first. Like he's also so gentle with her and patient. And it was beautiful. Their romance truly will sweep you off your feet just in time for Valentine's Day and love every day. So yes, all of these books like are absolutely divine. I will read anything that Kristina Forest writes. And because I'm about to finish the series single tier for the second time, because I'm reading the love lyric for a second time, I have some book recommendations for folks who may also be finishing this series and want to read something else, who fits kind of the similar vibes, friends to lovers, slow burn. If you're into those vibes, then I promise you're going to adore these book recommendations I have for you. So, if you have already read the series and you're looking for more rom-com, sweet, um, beautiful writing styles, I have some recommendations. So, if you want another series and you want slow burn, you want spice, you want beautiful writing, I highly recommend Hannah Bonam-Young's books Out on a Limb, Next of Kin, and Next to You. All of these books have a certain kind of charm. They are absolutely beautifully written. What I love about both Hannah Bonam-Young and Kristina Forest is that their books really flesh out the main characters and have a way of pulling you into this sense of like community. Sometimes characters may cross over from one book to another. So if you're looking for books that have similar vibes, small town romance, sometimes a little bit of miscommunication, a little bit of spice. He Falls First. You will love all of these books. Okay. And I will link everything in the show notes below. But yes, Hannah Bonham Young's books are amazing. I'll just quickly go over a few. You've got Out on a Limb, which for some folks, it's an amazing, beautiful book, but it does have a surprise pregnancy. I know this is not everyone's cup of tea, but the way that Hannah Bonham Young writes it is absolutely charming and divine. I will stand on this forever. Additionally, I love how sweet the male love interest in this is, Bo. His sweetness and kindness and compassion reminds me a lot of Xavier and Angel in Kristina Forrest books. So if you love a cinnamon roll male love interest who will steal your heart right away, Out on a Limb is divine. Okay, the next book in this series is Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young. In this one, you have found family. The female love interest, she adopts her younger sibling from her mom who's struggling with substance abuse issues. She ends up living with another guy who adopted his brother who is deaf. Because they're not able to afford an apartment individually on their own, they come together and they're able to afford this apartment as a team. They end up falling in love with each other while also trying to work very hard to be able to support their siblings. So this was super, super cute. She is warm and hardworking and kind and driven, similarly to Iris in the love lyric. So if you love found family, a slow burn, banter, Next of Kin is divine. And then if you want anxiety rep, He Falls First. This is Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This book was absolutely adorable. She has anxiety representation and she is converting a bus into a tiny home so she can go on a road trip. And the guy who ends up helping her is heavily inspired by Jason Momoa. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Adorable. Tattoos, curvy. We love to see it. Their dynamic will warm your heart. It is friends to lovers, even though he loved her the whole time. And it is super, super amazing because you get to see them have that moment of someone confessing their love and being able to find support and compassion in a time of hardship. Speaking of, I just noticed I also have Out of the Woods over here that I recently got. This one is a second chance romance. It's also by Hannah Bonham Young, and it follows a character who's referenced in Out on a Limb. She's the best friend of the main character on Out on a Limb. But in Out of the Woods, I'm about to read this one. To my knowledge, her and her husband are going on a camping trip. She's not a really big woodsy person, and they've been together since high school, I think. And it leads to kind of like, can their marriage suffer? It's it's going through some hardships. Will it be able to endure? And it also does give that second chance romance element because they're just falling in love all over again, which reminds me a lot of the partner plot because second chance romance, I've always loved you. It's giving high school to adulthood. We're different people now. Very, very similar. So partner plot, out of the woods. Yeah, you saw the connection right there? Boom. Okay, so it all connects. Moving on, if you like beautiful writing, black female main character, musician, love interest, I give you A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. This is my recommendation. If you love the love lyric, I highly recommend reading A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. Why? Because this book follows a young woman who owns a floral shop, which is interesting. Because in the neighbor favor, the partner plot, and the love lyric, their parents own a floral shop, which is why all the girls are named after flowers, which is super cool. But in this one, Ricki owns a floral shop, and she's trying to make her way with a new business, doing it all on her own in this beautiful brownstone in New York. New York reference. And she ends up meeting a mysterious, beautiful man in the garden. And one thing leads to another, and they cannot be together. But you don't know why. He's very mysterious. He's like, we can't be together. And you're like, why? And you're discovering why they can't be together. You're discovering this fantastical, beautiful romance that's rooted in the concept of fate, love, music, timelessness, and what it means to really accept yourself and let love into your heart. So I'll be doing a full book talk about A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. I loved the audiobook for this. It definitely, for me, I could envision everything in my mind. But also I'm glad to have a physical copy because I really do like annotating. So it's a win-win either way. But I'll be doing a book talk about this with my friend Lauren. So I won't dive too deep into that one, but I've read it. I adored it. It's probably one of my favorite books of the year, and we're only in February. Moving on. If you like banter, spice, and a little bit of a high school romance, we shouldn't be together, but I want you. I have a new book I plan on reading. I have heard is just as romantic as Kristina Forest's books, and that is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I have heard this book is amazing. I was lucky enough to win an ARC in a giveaway, but I have read Ali Hazelwood in the past. I read The Love Hypothesis. I really, really liked it. So I'm excited to read this one. I always love a little bit of spice, and I've never read a romance before with main characters who are swimmers, so I'm excited to read that. Mhm. Moving on, I won another giveaway for an arc that reminded me a little bit of The Neighbor Favor because I heard that it has really good banter. And this book is supposed to be a little bit similar to Sleepless in Seattle, which I love because Sleepless in Seattle, I also got those vibes a little bit from The Neighbor Favor just because of that cozy, you know, I'm going through a lot. I'm grieving. I'm experiencing different changes in my life. I've been through a hard time and I'm looking for love again. And that kind of grumpy male love interest that meets this ray of sunshine female love interest. So the book I'll be recommending is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I'm excited to read this. I've heard amazing, amazing things. This recently came out. I was lucky enough to get an ARC, and I'll be discussing this on the podcast because podcast bookish elements, that's literally me. So I can't wait to read this and discuss it with y'all, but I'll read the back just so we can get a real good sense of this one. A hopeless romantic meets a demoralized radio host in the cozy, Sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. Aiden Valentine has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love. And as the host of Baltimore's Romance Hotline, that's the problem. When a young girl calls in the station asking for dating advice for her mom, the interview goes viral. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine. She has a great job, an incredible family, and a smart, slightly devious kid. But when all of Baltimore is suddenly scrutinizing her love life, or lack thereof, she begins to question if she's as happy as she thought. With the help of the radio station, maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing for Lucy. When sparks start to fly behind the scenes, Lucy must make the final call between the radio-sponsored Happily Ever After or the man in the headphones next to her. Ooh, this looks really, really cute. Okay, the vibes of this do remind me a little bit of the partner plot, just because you kind of have to choose between romance with a guy you already know or romance with potentially other people. And that reminds me a little bit of the partner plot. So I'm excited to read that one. I'm telling you, after I've after after I finish these books, I need something to kind of fill the void so I don't fall into a book slump. And I don't want that for you either. So let's go through one, two, three, four, five. Let's go through five more book recommendations, and then you are free, my bookish loves. The next book I'll be recommending, I have wanted to read for so, so long, but I'm a mood reader, so I get distracted super easily. And that book is When I Think of You. This is a second chance romance, but they were in college and now they're adults. This is also diving into the film industry, which I think is kind of cool. I can't wait to read this. I won't even lie. I kind of got pulled in because the cover is absolutely gorgeous. It's a man staring into a woman's eyes. She's wearing a beautiful emerald dress. The fro is froing, and there's a sunset in the background. It is gorgeous. But I did want to read this because I am falling in love with second chance romances. I don't know why, what hit me, but I love a good second chance romance. Okay. The reason they break up matters. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. If he cheated or he did something devious and super spooky, I'm gonna need a reason. I'm messy. I need a reason. I need a reason why, why. And then I also love a good second chance romance if there was a concept of like, I've always loved you and I've tried to move on, but it didn't really work. I love that too. But when I think of you, to my understanding, is giving me a little bit of the same vibes as the partner plot. Second chance romance. This one was high school. And then this one when I think of you is them in college versus them now in the film industry. But to my knowledge, she is trying to get into the film industry. She's currently working in it, but she's building her way up. And the guy, the one who got away, is now a famous director. They end up working on a movie together. He's currently with someone else, but there is still that spark between them. And we, as the reader, are not sure why they broke up, but we are going to discover that and fall in love with them as they fall in love with each other again. So I'm excited to read this one. When I Think of You by Maya Ariel, I cannot wait to read this. Okay, so I've mentioned this book a few times. I actually plan on reading this weekend because I fly through her books so quickly. My fear is that I've read a lot of her books already. So if I finish this one, I'm kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel. That is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This is supposed to be super, super cute. It has curvy rep. It has the male love interest is an athlete. They used to be really good friends in school. They've kind of fallen out a little bit, and you're not really sure why. And they're going camping together as a school, and there is a little bit of banter, a little bit of the connection between them. And I know the female love interest is really into aliens and like conspiracies. We love a good conspiracy weird girl, so I am vibing. Talia Hibbert has a beautiful way of writing curvy rep. I also adore her humor, and I really, really love the way that she has a way of kind of pulling a love story together that feels very natural. Like they don't just get together because they happen to be there and they're both very good looking. It's always because there is a chemistry there. And I just love how she writes it so beautifully. So I cannot wait to read this one. I'm going to be reading this one this weekend. Okay. These are books. One of these books I have not read yet, and one of these books I've already read, and I have a special edition. Listeners out there, I don't buy special editions unless they mean a lot to me. So, this book I have heard amazing things from. My friend Lauren from Lauren Loves to Read recommended it in an episode prior, and I had to get it. It was on sale at Barnes& and Noble. So, this book is film industry actress, director. We Can't Be Together, But I Want You. This is Real by Kennedy Ryan. Oh, and this cover is gorgeous. It's a woman laying on a bed, staring into the camera, and there's this beautiful hue of pinks and purples and blues in the background. So I'm going to read the back of this one. I'm so excited to read this. I'm hoping to read this in March. Okay. Neva Saint is ready for the spotlight. After months as an understudy, this is her night to shine. She never imagined he would be watching in the distance. Ooh. Ken Holt, famous film director, fascinating, talented, and fine. Before she can catch her breath, everything is changing. Neva goes from backstage Broadway center to center stage. From being unknown to having her name on everyone's lips when Kenan asked her to stand in as a star-studded Harlem Renaissance biopic. But forbidden attraction, scandal, and circumstances beyond Neva's control soon put her dream in jeopardy. Could this one shot, the role of a lifetime, the love of a lifetime, cost everything? This also contains a bonus epilogue. What? So I love a good epilogue. I don't even know what happens next, but I cannot wait to read this book. I've heard amazing things about Kennedy Ryan. I listened to an episode about one of her books from a podcast that I absolutely adore, which is Fully Booked and Caffeinated. Guys, I absolutely adore your podcast, and I just love listening to their episodes. They are also an amazing book podcast, so I highly recommend you check them out. But this book, I cannot wait to read, and we'll be doing a full book talk about. Okay. And the last two books I'll be mentioning are books I just know are going to blow my heart away. One book I've already read, but this is a special edition, and it's been a few years since I read it, so I think I could definitely do it with a reread. And this is Mia Sheridan's Archer's Voice. This copy has her personal annotations in it. So when she was first writing it and just reviewing it, each page has notes from her. So about maybe characters or why she chose certain choices in the story. I cannot wait to read it. This book follows a young man who does not speak, and he lives in a small town where he is kind of the social pariah. You learn why. It's not his fault. It's just this small town and just rumors and the way that they treat him. And you get to meet Bree. She is a young woman who's new to this town. She is running away from something that happened in her past. She's looking for a new start. She ends up bumping into Archer. They become friends and slowly become more. And I cannot wait to read this. This is a sprayed edition, beautiful copy. Another reason that I fell for it is I listened to the audiobook through Libby, through my library at first. And I absolutely fell for their voices. I highly recommend the audiobook because you get to hear the male voice for Archer and the female voice for Bree, and the emotions that they had to convey were insane. So I highly recommend it that way. This edition also has this beautiful gold kind of mark on the cover. So you see dandelions, which is a huge part of the story, and you see that kind of on the hardcover, which is stunning. So if I get a hardcover, if I get a special edition, it's because I really love the book. So that made me so happy to get that. And the last book I'll be mentioning as a recommendation, if you have read this amazing series, The Partner Plot and The Neighbor Favor and The Love Lyric, if you've read this series and you need to recover and you don't want to be in a book slump, those are my recommendations. But this series, if you haven't read it, read it. It is so, so good. And prepare because a new episode with Kristina Forest is coming out next month, which makes me so, so happy. But my last book recommendation, if you are looking for a romance that will sweep you off your feet and give you magic and practical magic vibes, is Witchful Thinking by Preston Martin. Celestine Martin. I'm so, so sorry. But this book meets a girl who lives in a small town, and she's a witch, and her high school crush lives next door. It's her neighbor. His house is bewitched, and he needs her help fixing it, and they end up falling in love. So I'm super excited to read this. I'm also going to be interviewing this author very soon, so I cannot wait to read her books. And I know a lot of her books have like witchy, cozy vibes, and I also know they have some autumnal vibes. So you can never be ready for autumn. But I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to this episode. And please subscribe if this is on YouTube, review if it's on Spotify, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And I hope you have an amazing day.